I'm Robert Burrs. I currently live in Santa Barbara County, California. I'm the Executive Director of the Conflict Solutions Center, Community Mediation, and we also conduct small claims mediations throughout the county of Santa Barbara, California, as well as restorative justice mediation services for juvenile offenders.
Super. Angie, you can just go in with the questions.
Okay. Okay, Rob. Question number 1. How could restorative justice be used in working with youth offenders?
That is really the primary way that youth offenders should be served, knowing that their crimes are typically lower level. Restorative justice allows that juvenile offender to make direct reparations and amends to their victim as well as to the broader community. Through restorative justice practices, you can look at 3 operational principles: accountability, competency development, as well as community safety. Through accountability, the juvenile offender has to admit their wrong to the offender as well as to the other participants of the conference, so it's direct onus for whatever they did. As far as competency development, post-conference, once the conditions have been set from the restorative justice agreement, this is oftentimes the first time that the young person is going to be paying back restitution or doing some type of useful public service. So again, they're learning skill development, maybe some job trade skills, which can lead them to a permanent vocation or at least some type of pro-social productive behavior. And then community safety is obvious. And once they go to the conference, they feel that they are reintegrated back into the community. They're not looked upon as offenders, so to speak, but just as a good kid who made a bad decision, and they're being forgiven for it. So that's where I think it could really be used with juvenile offenders.
What do you think the difference of restorative justice will make in the lives of the community and the people that are involved, the kids?
Direct involvement. You're bringing in community members who have a stake, 1, where they live, 2, for the broader community as far as having peace and restoration. But then 3, you might get someone outside of the community who just looked at that young kid as, oh, this little thug is doing all these crimes, but they might even be able to turn into a mentor for that young person. You know, oftentimes people say young people need 5 other adults outside of their family structure in order to be successful. And that's where the community can really come into play. Plus, when the community takes an active interest in restorative justice practices, not just a program, but the overall philosophical practice of repairing the harm that's been done by an offense, it allows for the healing process. And you'll hear that common throughout the thread of restorative justice. It's accountability, it's healing, it's restoration, and it's direct involvement from the citizen, the people that matter,
That's
us.
fantastic. How long have you guys been involved in doing this? How long has this been?
Well, throughout North America, I would say restorative justice really kicked off around the early 1970s. Throughout Colorado, it's really been a big spur over about the last 10 years. We've really made a lot of big strides in Colorado. Where I'm from in California, in Santa Barbara County, it's been going on for about 7 years. So even though this philosophy has been around for thousands of years, when you really think about it, because that was the way that conflicts were resolved in ancient times, was through the communities and a person being accountable for their actions. But in North America, it's still in its infancy, but it's really taking off throughout the nation.
Fantastic. Let's see. Have you ever been involved in any restorative justice practices, and what has it meant to you personally?
Several. When I was living here in Colorado Springs, I was the executive director of Workout Limited, which provided therapeutic work services as well as restorative justice interventions and mediations for juvenile offenders in the courts as well as through probation. And we did wonderful work, and I'm not just patting myself on the back because I ran the organization. We really did make a measurable impact in the judicial system as well as the broader city. We were saving the city of Colorado Springs as well as the 4th Judicial District on average between $250,000 upwards to about $350,000 per year by mediating cases and diverting them from either probation services or prolonged probation services throughout the district. So it was measurable, quite measurable, where even Chief Jack Russick with the probation department would make direct referrals from probation, and we set up contracts that way. And we were also receiving direct referrals from the bench. The thing that we noticed most was that these young people were, again, getting that world of work ethic, taking accountability for their actions, but they honestly did feel the reparation and empathy towards their victims. And they honestly felt sorry for their offenses. We had a less than 10% recidivism rate. So basically between 90 to 95% of our kids were crime-free. And we were averaging about 125 to about 145 cases per year. And that was just with the judicial district. Now, with what restorative justice is doing in the communities, imagine that larger impact in Colorado Springs, as Colorado as a whole. So House Bill 1117 that was recently passed, the legislation allowing for restorative justice interventions for juvenile offenses is going to be huge for the state. So I'm really excited about what Colorado is doing. And to be honest with you, I'm trying to take it back to California, and hopefully they'll bite that carrot just like Colorado did.
What do you see the future for restorative justice? What do you see coming ahead?
I really see restorative justice being a part of our judicial system. The judicial system as we have it, it works for a lot of offenses, but for many offenses, you can still have a restorative intervention even if formal sentencing needs to take place for offenders. You can do it post-sentence, you can do it post-parole, you can do it pre-parole or pre-sentence. You can use restorative interventions at any level of the continuum of the judicial process, and to be completely honest with you, that is the way that it needs to be done for offenders to really take accountability for what they've done to their victims. People in the judicial system look at it, John Doe committed a crime versus the state. Is not versus the person that they harmed. If you look at court dockets, it's versus the state. It's institutionalized. Well, whatever happens to the person who was harmed? Restorative justice puts the victim first, and it puts the community as taking an onus for when that offender does come home. How do you embrace that person so that they don't commit an offense again? So as time continues to go on, I really see restorative justice being the first line when we're looking at prosecutions, as well as taking care of our victims, our communities, as well as getting the offender back on track.
What do you think? You got enough?
Wow,
that was really good. I learned a lot just like that.
Cool.
There's a lot of great stuff. Why have you gotten involved in restorative justice?
To be completely honest with you, I was a naysayer at the beginning. I worked at the probation department. I was formerly working with the U.S. Bureau of Prisons in the central office in Washington, D.C., as well as I worked in San Antonio as a case manager and parole officer. And my main philosophy when I first started the practice was, if this person makes a revocation, if they break the law in any form, that's it. You're going back. Forget it. Don't pass go. You're going straight to jail. When Chief Jack Russick introduced me to the philosophy of restorative justice, I said, this isn't going to work. This doesn't make any sense. The person doesn't care about the victim. They don't have any acceptance for their community. All they're doing is continuing to commit crimes. I didn't believe in it. Well, Jack introduced me to a gentleman by the name of Bill Groom and also Mark Umbret. And then he made me read Howard Zer's book, Changing Lenses. Once that happened, a light went off. It was a complete paradigm shift for me. And once I saw the philosophy and how it worked, and then I saw RJ in practice, I said, this makes sense. And I changed my complete philosophy, and then I went working for a nonprofit as its director running restorative justice programs. And I've been doing this now for the last 10 years, direct RJ work. So it was a complete life-changing experience finding this philosophy, and I'm even incorporating it in my home. I follow the philosophy with my children, with the children that are in my neighborhood. We do restorative conferences when the kids get into an argument in the neighborhood. I use it in my kids' schools. So I've really used it for everything that I do, and it's a practice that just makes sense. It's people treating people the way that they need to be treated. It's the golden rule, and there's no other way to go. I'm not going to turn back. It's life-changing. It really is.